So this is what we're going to look at. We're going to look at BIDMAS, then we're going to look at formulas using letters, formulas using symbols, and formulas using words. That's the structure of this session. But it's going to take one session. So let's just get started. Okay, so you've got a minute just to answer those three sums. 1 minute to answer those. So you've got three answers. Alright, what have we got for the first one? 7. Second one?
12.
7. We've got 7.
I've got 7.
7.
I've got 7. 12.
12. What about the third one?
10. I've got all these ones.
10.
Yeah, I got the last one right. I think that so when I thought that you had to answer.
So what we normally see in maths, is whenever you see a sum in maths, there are only ever two numbers and one operation. These things here, the plus sign, the multiplication, the division, the subtraction, they're the operations. They're what are called operations. Then you've got your numbers. Now normally in maths we're only ever dealing with two numbers, 1 plus 2, or 2 times 3, or 10 plus 4. We're only ever dealing with two numbers. But sometimes you'll get sums in maths where you've got more than two numbers and more than one operation. In that one you've got 3 numbers and you've got 2 operations. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers, 1, 2, 3, all 4 of the operations. So when you get a sum that looks like that, or similar to that, then we have to apply the BIDMAS rule. Okay, we have to apply BIDMAS, and that's the order that you've got to do that particular summing. So you don't do it left to right. Okay, you've got to do it in a separate order, and that's using the BIDMAS rule. It used to be called BIDMAS, but it's called the BIDMAS, and it's the order that we do sums in. B stands for brackets. So you might see a number that's in a bracket. We all know what a bracket looks like. So let's build ourselves a little sum up here. So let's put 2 plus 3 in the bracket. So there's your bracket. So if you've got a sum and you've got a bracket in there, then you've got to answer whatever's in the bracket first. The I stands for indices. The indices is like the little number 2 or the little number 3 that's in somewhere in the sum. Now in this case, the little indices 2 is outside of the bracket. And what that would mean is that you solve the bracket first and then you use the little indices 2. The indices 2 means that you times the answer to the bracket, in this instance, you times the answer to the bracket by itself. Not by 2, but by itself. That could be a 3. It could be any number, to be perfectly honest. For our example, we're just going to use it as the number 2. So if we were applying the BIDMAS rule here now, we'd do 2 plus 3 is 5, and then the answer to the bracket is 5. We would then multiply it by itself. 5 times 5 is 25. So the answer for that would be 25. Okay? Then you've got the D. The D stands for division. Now, you get 2 types of division in the question. You might get this. Okay, there's the division sign. Or you could get something that looks a little bit like this. Okay, there's your division sign. Which means you would have to solve the top of the sum before you could divide it, and then you would have to find the bottom of the sum before you could divide it. Because remember, you can only divide one number by one number. So you would have to solve that equation first, then you would have to solve this equation, divide that number by that number. So sometimes you can't do the division where it fits in there. We can't do the division for this one because we have to do the addition first. Yeah? So this is the thing with BIDMAS, you've got to kind of follow that rule, but it's not cast in stone, it is fairly flexible. Then you've got the multiplication rule. So let's do that. And then A stands for addition, got an addition in there, and subtraction. Okay, then we've got a subtraction, so let's do, there we go, we've got a subtraction. So there's a bit of everything now in that particular setup on that particular thing that we've done. We've got a bracket, we've got an indices, we've got a division, we've got a multiplication, we've got an addition, and we've got a subtraction. So we would then, to solve that, we would apply the BIDMAS rule. The BIDMAS rule would be that we go into the bracket first. 3 plus 2 is 5. Once we'd got the answer to that, we would then multiply it by itself, because the indices come next. 5 times 5 is 25. Then we would times that by 2. Remember, we can't do the division, because we can't divide all those numbers by all those numbers. We have to have one number on the top, one number on the bottom. So we'll just work on the top part of the sum first. So we've got 2 plus 3 is 5. That's the answer, squared. And then times by 2, divided by 17 minus 5 plus 2. 5 5s are 25, times by 2, that would give us 50. So we've got the top of the sum done now. There's the divide sign. We still can't do the division because we've got 17 minus 5 plus 2 on the bottom. 5 plus 2 is 7, 17 minus 7 is 10, so it would be 50 divided by 10. Okay, which gives you the answer of 5. So that's how they work. Okay, that's how they work. You must follow that BIDMAS rule. But that's what the components of BIDMAS are. Okay, that's how they actually work. Let's look at a couple of examples before I give you a couple to do. So 3 examples here. The first example is fairly straightforward. We've got 6 plus 3 times 4. I've underlined it. We do 3 times 4 first, which is 12. There's the 12. 6 plus 12 equals 18. That's nice and straightforward, nice and easy. Slightly trickier for this one here. We've got 3 plus 8 times bracket 4 plus 6 close your bracket divide by 5 minus 2. B brackets, so there's the brackets, it's 4 plus 6 which is 10, which is that number there. So then you can see what I do when I write these out. I rewrite the sum every time, and what's happening is the sum's just getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
So I just get down to 2 numbers at the bottom. So now there's the 10, which is the result of the brackets. So the sum now reads 3 plus 8 times 10 divided by 5 minus 2. There's no indices, so you skip that step. You go on to the division, which is 10 divided by 5, which is that 2 there. 3 plus 8 times 2 minus 2. So then you do the multiplication. 8 times 2 is 16, which is that 16 there. 3 plus 16 is 19, minus the 2 gives you the 17. Fairly straightforward. This side, okay, we've got here brackets, we've got an indices, we've got a division there, and we've got brackets on that side that's also got a division in. So when you see that, it's like this one here. You've got to treat this as 2 separate sums. You've got to treat this side of the equation, that side of the equation, because remember, you can only divide one number by one number. You can't divide that many numbers by that many numbers. You can only divide one number by one number. So we have to treat this, because it's separated by the divide line, we have to treat these as 2 separate sums. So we'll do on this side first. We're in the bracket. The bracket is 3 times 2, because when you're in the bracket you've got to follow the BIDMAS rule, and multiplication comes before subtraction. So you've got to do 3 times 2, which is 6, which is the answer to that step there. We're still in the bracket because we've still got the 9 minus 6, so we have to still answer the bracket before we can do the indices. Now, no subtraction comes at the end, but it's because we're still in the bracket. So 9 take away 6 is 3, there it is. That's now the answer to the bracket. So now we can use the indices against the bracket. 3 times 3 is 9. We've got down to one number. So that side of the sum now is down to one number, which is the number 9. On the other side of the sum, there's only one sum and it's in a bracket. 10 divided by 5, which is 2. So as we come down here, we've got 9 divided by 2, which equals 4.5. For me, doing these questions, which is what I did when I was doing them in the exam, I just kept rewriting the sum like so until I got it down to 2. That's all I kept doing. I've seen in the past where people they've done that 4 plus 6 gives them 10, and they've not rewrote the sum, and they lose the numbers in especially if it's quite a big sum, they lose the numbers in the sum. And it's like, oh, where's that 10 come from? Where's that 10 gone? They put it in the wrong place. If you just rewrite the sum every time, it makes it quite easy to do. Okay, it makes it quite easy to do. Okay, so shall we try a few of those? Shall we try a few? Well, we are going to try a few anyway, so. Let me just clear this board off.